Hi everyone, thank you so much for your patience. Thanks for waiting. We're excited to share some great content with you guys today. My name is Ravi Singh. I have the pleasure of working with some incredibly talented realtors. We form a group called Connexus Group, and Connexus stands for Connect, Next, and Nexus. Connecting you to what's next and understanding that your home and real estate is not just property that you own or place where you dwell, but it's the nexus of your existence. Today is the first part of three interviews that I'm going to be doing with three members of our team, where we will dig deep into some of the things that are related to their personal real estate investing journey. So we help a lot of people with their homes, but a passion project of our entire team is uncovering ways to create wealth through real estate. So with that in mind, I'd like to say first of all, thank you to everybody who's been waiting. YouTube has announced some new rules regarding live streaming. So thank you to Shant, who's been able to stick handle that process. Thank you to Jordan, who's also documenting this for future use. And welcome to Justin. Justin, thanks very much for being here. For anyone who's not acquainted, why don't you tell everybody how long you've been selling real estate and the age with which you bought your first piece of property?
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Justin Chang. I'm with Remax Hallmark, part of the Connexus Group. I've been selling real estate for 13 years now. October 2022 will be my 13-year anniversary. And yeah, I bought my first piece of real estate when I was 18.
And guys, this is one of the reasons why we're starting this talk off or this session off with Justin. You know, the whole idea that real estate is difficult to acquire is very valid. But Justin, you were able to start at 18. So where I want to start is, can you please tell all the listeners and anyone watching this in the future how that process unfolded?
Okay, yeah. So when I was 18, I was working in a restaurant, in the kitchen of a restaurant. I was able to save up about 10,000 in my bank. So my mom actually came to me one day and was like, "Oh, Justin, by the way, I took your 10,000. I invested it with some friends who wanted to buy real estate." So I mean, I trusted her judgment and I just let it happen. So what had happened is that four of her friends wanted to buy a one-bedroom condo at Rev Condos at Front and Bathurst. So there was five of us. We each put down 10,000, which gave us a $50,000 down payment. And condos at that time were we bought it for 250,000.
Right.
So that was able to cover a 20% down payment. And then we just waited until it was done. So 3 years down the line, it was constructed, and then we started renting it out as
So
soon as we took occupancy.
So I want to take a moment to explore the idea of co-buying. So guys, one thing that we advocate and one thing that I believe in is um, you can do a lot with more hands. And there are positives and negatives related to purchasing a property with people. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that experience and just about the idea of buying property with friends or family or other people or people you work with.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I just felt like it kind of gave me a little bit of a head start being able to partner with people or collaborate. Because I mean, at 18 years old, I didn't have $50,000 to put on a down payment, right? So I mean, putting 10,000 down with four other people allowed me to at least get my foot through the door.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's kind of like that's been my whole mentality up until now. I'm always about collaborating and partnering with people just so you can accomplish more.
Did you guys have, or with any of the other co-buying projects that you've done, did you have any sort of legal documentation, or was it merely a handshake?
To be honest, that part we were all on title, so
Yeah.
that was kind of our protection.
Good.
We didn't have any partnership agreement or anything other than all of our names being on the agreement of purchase and sale. Um, and yeah, to be honest, I've with my other partners that I have other condos with, we don't really have partnership agreements, which I wouldn't say is the best practice, but we thank God it's been 13 years and we haven't ran into any hiccups. But I mean, I have purchased in the corporation name,
Yeah.
which we are all shareholders of, so that's kind of where our legal protection is. I guess you can say.
So let's stop there for a second and talk about this corporation, because I know a little bit about it, but you and I believe two of your friends um, entered into the property number 2. So
That's
why don't you
right.
tell everybody just a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, so I started selling real estate at 21. So I had two good friends of mine who are now my business partners, who I bought the second and third condos with.
And where was the second one?
The second one was in downtown Markham.
Okay.
So, I mean, I worked in downtown. I worked in Markham in the beginning of my career with Susan Wong, and she was predominantly a Markham agent, and she was selling downtown Markham like crazy. So I knew about the project. I knew about the master plan community that was happening, and then me and my two buddies, who were all very like-minded people. You know, we're all about investing and making money. So we decided to partner up and buy my second condo at the time. And we had a little bit of a learning curve. Like, we wanted to know whether or not we should be buying it in our personal names, or we should be incorporating it and buying it through a corporation.
So what was the reasoning behind setting up a holding company or a
Well,
real estate
we have
corporation?
multiple meetings with our lawyer, who was kind of giving us the pros and the cons about doing it under your personal names or doing it under your corporation. And I guess our decision was kind of, we wanted to do it the right way. We didn't want to put it in our personal names and then deem it as somebody's principal residence, which I know a lot of people do, when they're really using it as an investment. And if 4 years down the line, CRA comes knocking on the door telling you to pay HST on it, right?
Yeah.
So we decided to go the righteous way, which is incorporating it. It did cost us a little bit more money to incorporate, you know, to file corporate taxes and things like that. It's a little bit more money to do it like that, but at least we have that peace of mind that CRA wouldn't come back to us asking us for taxes
Yeah.
at the end of it, right?
So far, guys, just to make clear the two things that I'd like to highlight. Number one, what you can't do on your own, find like-minded people, create partnerships, and purchase property. This is not an exercise in finding, you know, a home or a palace. This is an exercise in using this as a financial instrument.
That's right.
And then number two, a real estate corporation or a separate entity to hold property protects you in many ways,
That's right.
right? So, I mean, the first way is limited liability in the, you know, certain situations. The second way is tax, and the third way is probably on the exit.
That's right.
Now, on the corporation conversation, what about qualifying for a mortgage with a corporation?
Well, that was a little bit difficult because it was a brand new corporation that we set up. So we all had to put our personal covenants along with the corporation.
Right.
And they kind of had to approve us, given our personal profile,
Yeah.
to get it approved with the corporation anyway. So we pretty much had it in all four of the names, like all three of our personal names plus the corporation. And then closer to closing, we just removed our three personal names and kept it in our corporation name.
And guys, Justin, I'm assuming that this was all new, so you didn't know all these things, but you had enough guts to really just say, you know what, let's figure it out along the way.
For sure, yeah. And I think like having a lawyer by your side is the very important part. Anytime you have questions, anytime you're unsure about anything, you go get legal advice, because I think that was kind of our security blanket, is that, okay, we have our lawyer that we can fall back on if we really didn't know how things worked. And also having a good accountant is also
Yeah.
a big part of it, just to let you know kind of tax implications on your investment, right?
So let's make a list for anybody listening. Let's say somebody says, okay, I have 30 grand, I have three partners that each have 30 grand, we got this 120,000. Who's the first person they call, and who are the other people that you would recommend involving in that process?
So first stop, I would say, would be your mortgage broker, mortgage agent,
Yeah.
just to know what you're approved for, what kind of budget you're working with. Next, you find a rockstar real estate agent.
I can think of a couple.
I could think of a couple too. And then the next one would be a lawyer, just to get your legal advice. Accounting would be another very, very important piece. And then other than that, I mean, other investors you have that are lined up that can give you any kind of advice, I think is important knowledge to have too.
And just want to echo for anyone taking, 8 o'clock on a Wednesday and participating in this with us virtually, hats off to you because you obviously are doing this in order to consume this content and learn a few things, right? So we've talked about co-buying, we've talked about a team of experts, we've talked about corporation. After the first property with mom and her family, you went and did the same thing with your friends. What was the third property?
So with my two partners, we bought downtown Markham in 2001. Oh, sorry, when I was 21. And then the second one we bought together was at Queen and Dufferin,
Right.
at a building called Q-Lofts.
And just to make a sidebar, both of these were purchased pre-construction.
Pre-construction, that's right.
Right. Okay.
So then that was the two that I have with my two business partners. And then
I just want to, for the benefit of the audience, those two business partners and those two properties, can you talk about the third property that was done with those guys?
yeah, so 2 years ago, we purchased an investment property out in Muskoka. So we bought a 4-bedroom villa there, and how we did that is we actually refinanced from downtown Markham, took equity out of that property, and we purchased Muskoka. So that's our third property we have together.
So just to be clear, you still own downtown Markham,
That's right.
you still own Queen and Dufferin,
That's right.
and this corporation now did not use any of their own money. They were able to use a refinance on Markham.
That's right. So we kept downtown Markham as a rental. We kept Q-Loft as a rental. We took out equity out of downtown Markham to buy Muskoka, which is now used as a rental.
So, just making this checklist for everyone, the fourth point to drive home is that your first property, you need cash. Your second property, you need cash. If you're doing it right, your third and fourth property, you may only need equity,
That's right.
right? And for us as a team, we don't necessarily believe in, like, this topic is not get rich fast. It's not get rich
Mm-mm.
quick. It's get rich, but create consistent, sharp plans to build equity over time.
That's right.
Now, downtown Markham and Q-Lofts, are you generating cash flow on those month to month?
So Q-Lofts we got it at a very good price at the time, and we've been generating cash flow. We're cash flow positive. We've been cash flow positive since we took occupancy, which is good. Downtown Markham, it took us a couple years to get into the positive cash flow, and then we got into the positive cash flow like maybe about 4 years into owning it. But then when we took a refinance, we had to add money back onto the property. So we are now in a slight deficit for downtown Markham.
So roughly speaking, what is the deficit that you run on month to month on that property?
I would probably say about $300 to $400.
Okay.
Yeah,
So call it $5,000 for the whole year.
that's right.
And then, for people who are looking for cash flow, what would you say to them as the reason why you still hold this despite it not generating month to month income?
Well, I mean, we just bank on the appreciation value of the condo, right? So, yeah, we're losing $300 a month. In turn, that's $3,600 a year.
Yeah.
But the condo it goes up like at least 8% to 10% a year. So, I would say that's another $60,000 of equity every year. So, to give out $3,600 to make 60,000 equity is worth it for us.
And if anybody watching has questions about this, please write it in the comments because we'd love to make this interactive. But I'm just going to add one more thing to that point. Rents were going up, so you could have been cash flow positive, but you took money out to buy a third property.
That's right.
And I think looking at the GTA, the equity side of it is probably what GTA investors are doing.
Exactly.
It's not a cash flow, it's not a cap rate, it's not, it's not Hamilton, it's not Oshawa, it's condos in the city, right?
That's right. And I mean, we are charging probably a little bit lower than market rent right now for downtown Markham, but our tenant's been there for, I believe, 2 to 3 years now.
Yeah.
And he's a great tenant, so it's not worth it for me to raise rents on him or to kick him out just to try to get a little bit more on the rental income, right?
So tell us the best stories about tenants and the worst stories about tenants. Because guys, if anybody wants to tell you there's such a thing as passive income, there's no such thing as passive income. It always takes some sort of effort. Real estate, you don't have to work for the income, but you have to put in effort.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
So what's the worst experience you've had with the tenant?
Oh man. Okay, so downtown Markham, I had a Chinese lady who was renting it out. You know, older Chinese lady, super sweet lady, but halfway through her rent, she moved back to China and she let this little like 21-year-old Chinese girl take over the lease. And she was horrible. Like, you know, I was trying to get a hold of her when her lease was almost done. She said she wasn't renewing, so I kept trying to arrange a time to meet with her to get the keys. So, long story short, I met her. She gave me the keys downstairs in the lobby, and then when I went upstairs to open the door, the keys weren't working. So she changed the locks on us without letting management know, without letting us know, and then eventually I had to trace her down again to get the right keys, and then when I finally got the keys, it was completely, everything was in there. Like there was garbage in the den, her furniture was all in there. She left some IDs in the toilet, in the top of the toilet over there. It was just a very weird situation, but I eventually had to get the locks changed again. I had to get a junk remover to move all the furniture out. I had to get the movers to move the bed out, the couch out, everything like that. So it did cost us some money to get that tenant out, but I mean, it could have been a lot worse. She could have squatted there for 6 months without paying us. So
Yeah.
I'm happy she was just out at the end of the day, you know?
And guys, one thing to mention on this topic too is when you're aligning with your team, there are some really good landlord paralegals that you want to be able to have on your speed dial in the event something like this happens or worse,
That's right.
because there is risk. Now, what about okay, so this third property that you bought with your group is Muskoka Bay Resort.
That's right.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that's different?
Yeah, so Muskoka Bay Resorts, that's actually a short-term rental property. So how that one works is we put it in the rental pool, which Muskoka Bay Resorts kind of manages for us. So they put the tenants in there or the renters in there. They clean it for you. They deal with any complaints. They check people in. They check people out. So it's completely hands-off for us. Whereas the other first two that we purchased, these were long-term leases. So a tenant's in there for a year, they renew their lease for another 2-3 years. So it's a little bit more hands-on, but it's a year lease versus at Muskoka Bay Resorts, it's only a couple nights at a time.
Right.
But we don't have to deal with it, which is why, I mean, I love that investment just because it's completely hands-off for us.
And if you don't mind me asking, maybe we can share some numbers on that, Justin. So your purchase price and the going trading rate for your property now and the timeline.
At Muskoka?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Muskoka, we bought it kind of in COVID. So 2020, at the end of 2020, we bought it for $642. And then now they just sold a villa in our block. They were listed at 1.2.
Right.
So whether or not they got it, I'm not sure if it's sold just yet, but I know for sure the new villas that they put out, they sold for 1.1.
That's not bad, right, Shane? For 2 years?
Where do I sign up?
So all kidding aside, guys, when Justin bought that, another agent that we work with, I had posted on my social media just a little clip, and she asked me, she's like, Ravi, what is this? And she ended up buying one too. She bought a loft, and hers was, I think, in the 300s, and she recently sold that for a very, very, very good gain. So I looked at the two of them, and I said, well, what am I doing? So I went and bought one in the new phase, and if anybody has questions about that, it's something that we're big proponents of, and that leads me to sort of the next topic. So Justin, in addition to owning real estate as properties, can you share a little bit about what happened from this, work with Muskoka Bay Resort?
Yeah, so when we bought Muskoka Bay Resorts, to be honest with you, like I wasn't really trying to push it. I was more so just posting it on my social media about, this is the property we bought, we're doing some work to it. And then just through Instagram stories, a lot of people started asking me about it. And then when I told them the whole kind of gist of what we were doing, a lot of people had interest. So I started bringing clients down there to take a tour of the property, and they really started to get to know me down in Muskoka Bay Resorts because I was there pretty much every other weekend. So we ended up selling a whole bunch of the villas, the new release of villas that came out, and then we had a whole bunch of people that we had interested in the new condo phases. And then through that whole kind of relationship we built with Freed and the PSR team and Hirsch, they invited us to become partners for this whole free resorts that they're doing. So they've done a huge assembly in Northern Ontario. They bought 3 extra resorts, including Deerhurst, Horseshoe Valley, and Blue Mountain. So now we actually invested into the whole assembly. So we are now kind of partners, I would say, with Freed Resorts.
Yeah.
So we will have access to Horseshoe Valley, Deerhurst, and then Blue Mountain.
And I think the takeaway for me on that is, in addition to purchasing actual units or doors or property, there's other ways to generate wealth in real estate, and participating in an equity raise is definitely another instrument. And I think it's a natural elevation, right, or a gradual sort of move up the hierarchy.
For sure.
And that brings me to sort of the last one that I want to dig into today. So guys, we're very fortunate that during COVID, we brought another wing into our Connexus group, and it's Jason and his younger brother Jerry. And Jason and his family, and this is what we're going to talk about next week, they have been on the development and commercial side of real estate investing for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You've been their realtor, and now
Yeah.
we work together. Jason's their realtor. But why don't you tell us a little bit about the Adelaide project?
Yeah, so it's funny because I've known Jason and his family and his wife for a very long time, and I've known they've always been doing great development deals, and they've been making a lot of right moves in the real estate game since I could remember. So I always told Jay, like, Jay, when I'm ready, I'm gonna invest with you guys because I see what you guys are doing and I want to kind of get involved, right? So in the middle of COVID, they had a property at Adelaide and Bathurst. It was a townhouse that they were planning to renovate. They were planning to renovate and convert it into a multiplex. So they asked me to go find an investor who was willing to go buy it from them. So I was kind of marketing it to our internal network. And at this time, I refinanced some equity out of my own principal residence because I knew that amongst COVID, there would be a lot of opportunities to be had. So I had
Sorry, I want to take a break and just repeat that. You knew that during COVID, there would be a lot of opportunities to be had. And guys, that's like a nugget that goes in line with, like, for example, what Warren Buffett says, right? Where, go against the grain. Take a look at what people are running from to see if there's an opportunity there.
That's right.
So sorry, Jess, I heard that and I just wanted to repeat it for anybody listening. But let's go back. So you had done this refi on your personal residence.
That's right.
Jason wanted to offload this property.
That's right.
And then
So, I was thinking about it. I said, look, this looks like a good opportunity. Let me ask one of my other guys who is in the construction business, who's a general contractor. I said, look, would you want to purchase this property and convert it into a multiplex? So we met, we had a couple meetings about the whole project, and the numbers worked out. So we ended up purchasing it, partnering with Jay and his team, who was the original owners of the property, and we started doing the work ourselves. So it's in the middle of construction right now, and we should be done in 4 months, and it will be a triplex by the time we're done with it.
You know what? And then what is the exit strategy, or what's the whole strategy on that, Justin?
Well, so I don't know. We're gonna see what happens in the 4 months time when we're kind of complete the project. If it makes sense for us to rent it out and we could get good rental income on it, we may hold it for a couple of years. Otherwise, I mean, if we can sell it for a very good gain, then we would consider that too. Again, like working with partners, we kind of have to have that conversation with everybody to see what their opinions are, see where everybody kind of stands in terms of what their exit strategy would be, and then we kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
But the project took a little bit longer than we anticipated. But what's good is that what we anticipated we could sell it for once it's complete, that number got even higher. So, you know, it took us a little bit longer. It cost us a little bit more money, but market values have been good. So we could probably sell it more than what we were projecting.
So I see there's a question from Crystal regarding tenants. And, you know, Crystal, I just want to start off by saying that there's a wealth of, you know, rights that tenants have. And I will say that a lot of our landlords, we coach them on creating really good landlord-tenant relationships and, you know, going the extra mile for your tenants. There's this whole mindset that we have that the tenants are a guest in your property and that you want to treat them with respect and gratitude. And a lot can actually be protected and prevented if you're really good to your tenants.
Mm-hmm.
Now that being said, you need insurance, you need you know, the proper type of construction, you need the proper type of exits. If you have anything specific regarding landlord-tenant questions that you want to ask, let us know. Our advice is to do as much preventative as possible and be as proactive and as depth in research as possible before renting and signing a lease. Oftentimes, we will, in our agreement, write back a conditional agreement where we say this offer to lease is conditional upon the landlord being satisfied at the landlord's sole and absolute discretion with the tenant's tenant worthiness, and then we'll set up a Zoom call. To be quite honest, there are bad apples out there,
For sure.
but you want to do as much preventative and proactive measures before the lease starts. The second thing I'll add about tenants is there's a lot of good tenants out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, there are great renters, and if you're filling that void in the market to be a good landlord to a great tenant, it's actually a great place to work. Now, on the topic of landlord-tenant disputes, there's a whole process for eviction, there's a whole
Mhm.
process for non-payment of rent, there's a whole process for damage to a property, and I will be honest, many paralegals and many people in the industry have said the cost of justice is just too expensive, move on,
That's
all right?
right.
So, I mean, luckily you haven't had it too bad, luckily I haven't had it too bad. I will say, ease into real estate investing. It's another reason why pre-construction sometimes is a good way to start. But you know what? Get a really good realtor to place your tenants to.
Yeah.
It costs a month's rent, but it's worth it.
That's the advice I always give my clients who are investors. Is like, you always have to just start the relationship off on a good foot, and like, you know, you be as accommodating as you can without obviously within the boundaries,
Yeah.
right? Like, you know, if a tenant is going to be late on their rent a little bit, give them the benefit of the doubt, allow them that one extra time to, like, you know, be a little bit late, because you don't want to sour up the relationship.
Yes.
Because the worst thing to get into is like having a tenant who's pissed off at you, they squat in your property, they don't pay you rent for 6 months, you have to go through eviction process and this and that. So I always say sometimes you just have to suck it up and like be even over accommodating sometimes within reason, just to kind of avoid that headache of getting a nightmare tenant or turning them into a nightmare tenant.
So I have two more questions for you, Justin, and then we're gonna wrap it up today. Guys, for anybody who wants to dig into the commercial side of it, to the land side of it, to the assembly side of it, to the development side, that's next week. And I'm really excited about having Jay next week. But two more questions. What do you say to people who are concerned about the current market and the current economic conditions in Canada or in the GTA?
Oh man. I would say, I mean, Toronto's a still very healthy economy. I would say still try to get your foot into the market like as soon as possible. I know the market's kind of on a downturn right now, but if you're in a position to hold it for a few years, 5 to 10 years, prices will always rebound. In my belief, nobody can tell what's going to happen in the future, but um, I mean, I think Canada's just a great country. We're very conservative. We're very conservative, so I don't think banks are overlending or you're taking all of these measures so a major recession doesn't happen.
Yes.
So I think if you're in it for a long haul, buy now and hold on to it for 10 years and just see your money grow.
Yeah. And guys, I echo the same. I think with this bearish market that we're in right now, giddy up. Like now's the time to go out and buy if
Yeah.
you can.
The deals are to be had right now. Like, there's sellers out there right now who've purchased and they're kind of desperate to sell. So you have some fire sale opportunities that are happening right now.
And then my last question is about, you bought more than one property pre-construction. And the argument that a lot of people make is, well, pre-construction is overpriced when you look at the price per square foot or you look at, the resale market. What would you say to someone who's sitting on some cash and could buy, a small condo, let's say, and they could either buy one resale or pre-construction?
I mean, I think both are good options. It just really depends on the person's situation. Like if somebody's self-employed or they have a cash job or something like that, maybe the pre-construction route is a better route to go because you can defer getting your mortgage 2-3 years down the line. So you have that time to kind of build up your credit in your whole mortgage story to actually get approved once it's done, right? Otherwise, like if you could get into the market right now on a resale, you could get approved for it, you have no issues with that, then by all means, that's a good, just let your money start working for you right now.
Absolutely. And you know what? When people ask me that, I always say it's not an either or equation.
Mm-hmm.
There's opportunity on both sides.
That's right.
So guys, I just want to summarize the nuggets that I took away from today. We talked about co-buying. We talked about buying under a corporation. We talked about financing under a corporation. We talked about some of the colorful parts of having a tenanted property. We talked about the market and the market opportunities that are right now. We talked about refinancing the first property to buy the third property. And we talked about overall the benefits of pre-construction versus resale properties. I just want to say that first of all, thank you to everybody watching. Thank you to Shant.
We have one more question.
Oh, we've got one more question. Hang on, guys. Let's just take a look at this question. If you already have a home, would you rather upgrade when you can or stay put to get an investment property? What would you say, Justin? This is from Chelsea. Would you upgrade your personal home or would you buy a second property and stay in your first?
Again, I think both have its benefits, right? Depending on your situation. If you have a growing family and you need more space, then I would say upgrade your property. But if you're content with where you are right now and you can still grow for a few years, then you can get yourself an investment property and let that grow. Once that grows, you can refinance and then upsize on your primary residence, right? So I really just think it depends on what your current situation is and what would best fit you.
And Chelsea, I'll just share with you, both Justin and I, we're not in our forever homes, but we're buying investment properties right now.
Yeah.
And Justin always makes the joke, he's like, I'll stay in the shoebox. I just want to own 10, 20 doors, right?
Yeah.
For me, I've got 2 kids and we love our house. We do the morning, spin, me and my wife, while we're getting breakfast and lunches ready and stuff. The kitchen's a little tight, but you know what? I believe your home is consumption. I believe your real estate investment properties are the properties outside of your home. And I believe that you can get into your forever home faster if you pick up a couple properties and then you can sell all 3.
That's right.
So that's an option, right?
That's right.
I just like to say that personally, Justin has actually gotten me out of the co-pilot seat, and he's gotten me actually more invested into more properties faster. I've always had kind of my dad in the back of my head saying, you know, market could change, you need to have cash, you need to be conservative. And, you know, Justin, you've actually helped me really pull the trigger on some stuff that I'm very happy about. And guys, I can tell you, it's a nervous thing, right? I've helped people, and I've done it myself where you're like, I don't know, I'm fearful. Do it. Just get into the market, go for it, be smart, take calculated risk, hedge your bets and be protected against, you know, the variables, but you will transform your financial trajectory over your life if you can take these steps. And, you know, if we can help in any way, obviously we'd love to be able to help.
Yeah, and I think that's what, like, collaborating kind of helps you kind of take that nervousness out of you as well, right? Like, when you collaborate, celebrate your wins together, you're also mitigating your risks,
Yes.
you know? So I think that's another benefit of collaborating with people.
Yeah, and even when, you know, there's, you know, like the fear or the 100 reasons why maybe you shouldn't, you actually took the plunge, and it seems like you're very happy that you did,
For sure.
right?
For sure.
Okay, so on that note, cheers to you. Thanks
Salute.
very much, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Guys, cheers. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Jordan. Thank you to Shant. Sorry about the delay. Next week, 7:30, we're starting with Jason. So looking forward to hosting you guys then. Thanks, guys.